Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be here with all of you. And this is a different kind of IBG event. And I will relate it to business. And you will see how we're all interconnected. And business has a role to play in this. But before we get to that progression, we need to set the backdrop of this so that you can appreciate what I'm doing here and why it's so important in these times and what brought it about. It was requested last year at the NCPA on 26/11. I read a poem that I wrote in haiku, and now I realize maybe it is appropriate to read this poem. I wasn't going to. It's a series of haiku poems. Haiku poems, as most of you know, are short poems with syllables 5, 7, 5, and I decided on my own to just tell my story in haiku in this form, and Dilip Mehta has requested that I share this with all of you, but I just wanted to tell you it's quite personal, but yet IBG creates friends, and this is networking where you build goodwill and trust and friendships with each other. And in a place like India, but especially a place like Mumbai, I think that the experience goes deeper very quickly because of the type of city that Mumbai is. And everybody who lived here went through those terrorist attacks and was affected in one way or another. So I will share, that's the backdrop, and so instead of just telling you in another way, I'll share it through this form, and then we'll move on from there. But yes, there is light at the end of this tunnel. So whatever dark passage we have to go through is just part of life too. So it begins, let me share this with you. This.
Here's a mole.
This is my family. This is Alan and Naomi. So it begins to the airport. The final packing, that one last cup of coffee. We're on our way. Laughing together. Airport arrives too quickly. Time to disembark. Checking in, long line. Relaxing into oneness, we inch our way forward. Our goodbye is sweet. They're off to India, father and daughter. I, wife and mother, drive back alone this time. A new experience. First phone call arrives. So excited to be there. Oberoi Hotel in Mumbai City. A meditation retreat within luxury. Each day filled brightly with so much vibrant color everywhere they went. City streets alive with honking horns and scooters, occasional cows. Exciting phone call. The long-awaited nose piercing turned out perfectly. Good news for you, dear. Your test scores came in today, 92%. Much to celebrate. Tell your father right away. Congratulations. Little did I know that would be the last phone call with sweet Naomi. Did you hear the news? Nose piercing, great. Top test score. I love you, honey. Little did I know that would be the last phone call with dearest Alan. Florida. A trip on my own to Florida for Thanksgiving with sons and family. Sparkling Tampa Bay shines with promising good times. I smile as the plane lands. Soothing, warm sunshine permeates blue sky, palm trees, soaking the sidewalk, bare feet. Checking my email, No messages today from Mumbai, India. Quiet afternoon. Time to watch Oprah Winfrey. The phone is ringing. Kia, turn on the news. Oberoi Hotel attacked. Terrorists invade. I can't believe it. How can this be happening? I drop to the floor. What's going on now? Turn on the TV, terrorist attack. Sitting on the couch, we're all stunned and afraid. Where are our dear ones? Another phone call. Everyone is accounted, except those two. Where are they? Safe? Trapped? Call the State Department now. They will update us. Another day gone. Father and daughter missing all over the news. Photos on TV. Prayer groups begin to form. Emails pouring in. Our prayers are with you. We want you to know we care. Sending all our love. Friday, 6 a.m., the confirmation phone call. Both were shot and killed. No, not both of them. Dear God, please, not both of them. So sorry, Mrs. Sher. Numbed silence pervades. The family surrounds me. We cry together. Another phone call. CNN asked to share the news. Okay, I tell them. Father and daughter, 2 Americans, both shot. The girl was 13. All terrorists now killed, except one who's captured, a brainwashed young man. As Jesus Christ said, they know not what they do. We must forgive them. Must send them our love. We must be compassionate. Otherwise, more hate. Messages come in from all over the world. Messages of love. Muslims, Jews, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, and much more. Together in love. This is who we are. This is the gift from Mumbai. One human family. From the ashes of darkness to the light of love. Transforming our lives, we transform the world. And it was really these messages of love that were received from all over the world, over 1,000 emails, that gave rise to One Life Alliance. Because I then felt that, yes, I lost my family, but yet I gained a world family in return. And I wanted to come out and connect with that world family and continue this conversation, because it became so apparent to me how connected we all are. I never felt such connection. It felt, you know, I was living in a meditation sanctuary in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia, and I was rather isolated from the rest of the world. It felt like there was this outside world out there, and ever since 26/11, there's no more outside world. There's only one world, and that's our world. There's only one race, there's the human race. So deep down, we all know this, we all agree with that. But in these times, it's time to act that way. And that's where we have a opportunity and a choice. And it means choosing that and bringing focus to it. So that's why an organization is formed, and out of that grew the Global Peace Initiative. Because it takes focus and commitment. There are no half-hearted terrorists, are there? They're not complacent, are they? Unfortunately, they're focused on destroying life, negating it, dishonoring life. And when we lose something so precious and dear, we realized how sacred life is. And that's what gave rise to the message of One Life Alliance, which is, life is sacred, so let us honor it in ourselves and in each other. So it starts there with that seed idea, and that was 4 years ago. And from there, We need to get practical because otherwise we're left with a beautiful message on our website that somebody might read and say, oh, that's wonderful. That doesn't change anything, does it? My son said, too vague and philosophical. Make it practical. So we created, first of all, a pledge. I took a pledge that, okay, I'm going to be the opposite of terrorists in this case. I promise, I will pledge to honor the oneness and sacredness of life in myself and in everyone I meet. Okay, very good. We launched that in Mumbai 2 years ago, and people said, well, how do we do that? How do we do that? So 30 days, every day I wrote it down. And so that created a little book, like a little workbook. Slow down. Day one is slow down. That's kind of obvious, isn't it? Because we can't honor anything or even notice what's going on until we slow down. And it was really simple. How am I going to remind myself? What challenges do I have? And what insights did I gain? So I did that for 30 days. Slow down. Smile. All day long. Smile a lot more often. That creates a beautiful psychology. Breathe deeply. Accept. Listen. Tell the truth. Forgive. Collaborate. Include. Connect. Gratitude. All of these things add up to living with peace, love, and compassion. So then this started going into schools. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but somehow or other it happened. I was talking to teachers as I could use that in my classroom, and so in Baltimore, Maryland, Washington, D.C., it's inching its way into school systems. Now in Mumbai, lots more people here. So we have lots more students and teachers, and they're all responding. Don Bosco school system, NES schools. And now I'm going to various different high schools and teacher training programs, and that's now beginning to happen. And I knew that it had to be more than education. Education is one thing, but we need to work together with our businessmen and our government leaders in new ways. And if we can connect in new ways and start this conversation with that, all kinds of ideas can come out of that. And so I was drawn to business. I joined Rotary Club. I'm not a business person, but yet I resonated with the principles of Rotary Club, and they brought me in and accepted me. And when I met Vikash, Indian Business Group, same. He invited me to become an honorary member. And I was very happy to do that. So I've been interacting with business people, government of Maharashtra. They want to support this and they want to work with us. So we're in process with that. And in my own country, I have met President Obama and his wife, and I met Governor Martin O'Malley, and I met people at the State Department, and I've met the U.S. ambassador to India and the Indian ambassador to the U.S. So I'm getting around, slowly but surely, and the word is spreading. So this is a global peace initiative, and I started spending a lot more time in Washington, D.C., because I knew I couldn't do all this from a sanctuary in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia very effectively. So there I go to Washington, and fascinating. Washington, there's an organization called the Institute of Economics and Peace, and they measure the Global Peace Index. And when I heard this, I was almost jumping out of my seat because I felt this is it. This is the missing link. This is it. They looked at 158 countries, and they looked at 23 different peace indicators, both some positives and some negatives, to come up with some figures to help us to understand and expand our understanding of what peace is. It's not just an absence of war. What comprises a peaceful society? What are the components to that? Because once you know, you can determine what your weak links are and strengthen them and thereby raise the peace index, which, by the way, increases the economic stability of that country. Business improves. Profits go up. So even if a businessman had no heart, which I really don't believe is true, but just say they weren't paying much attention to that, and all they wanted was profit, they would still benefit by increasing the peace index. So we have now a way to relate to everybody. So I wanted to share some of that with you about structures of peace. There's a report, I'll share this with you. In the meantime, just some of these images are just depictions of after 26/11, you're left with these questions, and you want to know what to do, and you're praying, and you want to stop the violence and the terror, but we all know we can't fight it directly. And be fighting violence with violence, we become terrorists in that case. So there's a desire to come together and work together in new ways. So questions come up. So when Life Alliance was formed, it was a vision that offers a new possibility, because we know, and every business person knows, that our success as human beings and in business depends on how we interact with each other. So that's where we're putting our focus, improving the art of interaction. It's a skill that you develop. And the better you can interact, the most effectively you can interact with your family, friends, and colleagues, the more successful you'll be on all fronts. This quote inspired me because it's on the front door of the United Nations in New York. And this is the truth. And life itself is our ultimate value. Yes, it's important to make money. Yes, we need to support ourselves in this world. There's much we can contribute to our well-being for everybody. But what's our highest value, our ultimate value? And if we know that it's life itself, then that needs to be a priority along with, not instead of. It doesn't have to be separate, but along with everything else that we do. So that we are bringing that honoring of life and that into it. So we're not forgetting about it. So that we may gain on one hand, but somebody else or something else suffers over here. That happens too much, especially in bigger corporations. It becomes very impersonal. Lots of gain over here on the money side, but the environment and sometimes people suffer as a result. So it's just a matter of remembering a simple golden rule that we all know and very well. It's another way to put it. So we can join together to create a new outcome. So now, how do we get to that other thing? I'm going to go to this one, the structures of peace. There. And this will help us understand better, well, what does peace have to do with business? What doesn't it have to do with business if you really think about it? So these are some different components that create peace. One is a sound business environment, well-functioning government, and equitable distribution of resources. And what creates all of that? Well, look how these things are intersecting. Free flow of information, low levels of corruption, acceptance of the rights of others, high levels of education, and good relations with neighbors. And what they mean here is country to country, but also neighbor to neighbor, both internal and external. And all of these things strengthen the business and the government and the societies, the communities. And what you get is peace. That's the outcome, is peace. Peace index can be increased, and they've even proven that as those numbers go up on the scales, economic stability increases. So it actually increases the economy to a positive extent when you increase the peace index. So out of 158 countries, India 142. US 88, which I thought was surprisingly low considering our resources and education levels. I don't know if my American friends here would agree or not, but our neighbor Canada's in the top 10. Number 1 is Iceland, and it's true, everybody usually laughs because even the Iceland ambassador said, well, I would hope so. We have 300,000 people and no minorities. So we better be number 1. So yes, the bottom 10 are what you would expect. Syria, Somalia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Egypt, Libya, Israel. Countries more in conflict historically. The gap between rich and poor is a factor. That's in there. But the main thing is we can start in our own backyards. And I was delighted to receive an email last week I live in a rural area in Virginia, and I got an email from the principal of Rockfish Valley Elementary School in Nelson County, and she said, I want to use your pledge book in our school. We really need it. We need to build character. This is kindergarten through 6th grade. And our own backyard, I was thrilled. I said, success. I never thought conservative rural Virginia would come on board. But the superintendent of conservative rural Virginia there in Nelson County told me that when he retires next year, he wants to work for One Life Alliance. Yes. He's been to Mumbai on an education conference, and he loves India. And he wants to come back and help in this cause. So that's pretty amazing. So this is what I'm doing in Mumbai then, is making these connections because we're all in it together. I have a little role to play in helping to facilitate connections. But then it's really the youth who will take it forward. The youth, when I spoke to 400 students at Don Bosco School, I was amazed. My colleagues Nanesh and Nisar were there, and they saw these students created a peace forum. They created their own pledge. At one point, it was so heartwarming. In honor of Naomi, they brought all the 13-year-olds up on the stage. About 50 of them came up, and they said, these are your children. They will call you mother. Think of the compassion. I mean, that they would think to do something like this. High school students. This is India. You have much to be proud of. You're people with great, deep hearts. And when I found out that in order for me to be officially a trustee on One Life Alliance India, I had to agree to live here 6 months out of the year, I was overjoyed. And so that's not a bad deal. So anyway, it's an ongoing initiative. So it's not just about 2611, because that's a day. But what we'd like to do is, now it's remembered as an act of war, right? That day, everybody remembers act of war. And around 2611, the fists go up, and the fingers are starting to point. Because I've been here now for the past 2 or 3 2611s, and I understand the anger. I understand it. Forgiveness doesn't mean we're not angry. In fact, we're outraged. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't be held accountable. Of course they should. But we need to find to work it out so that we don't become terrorists ourselves. And the lone surviving terrorist, he's in the hands of the Indian government. Let that proceed by law. That's not my concern, really. What my concern is, what are we doing with our time and our resources and in our communities? And instead of pointing fingers and blaming, of course, there's a lot of things that don't work in a community, any community or government. But, okay, let's recognize what it is, but how can we shift it is the question. What can we do? What can we do in our own business, first of all, and then how can we reach out to communities? How can we intersect more with them? And that's what groups like this can do, Indian Business Group. I will be working with them, and we'll create events and discussions and things like that with students. Wellinkar students, Wellinkar School, best business school in India, they have given me an executive office, a team of 60 students to plan our 2611 events. And we'd like to create the Gateway of India as a gateway of peace, because really, in truth, it is.
Love it.
So I have we're meeting the chief minister and the governor they didn't really take any convincing. They're on board. They will support that event of the peace rally on the morning of, we're doing that on the 25th because it's a Sunday and that's the better day to have a march. But at the Gateway, we're in conversation with Amitabh Bachchan and Shamak Davar, and some of the main people in the government will be there. And we'll have the students, we'll have some religious leaders, we'll have the consul generals. You're invited, of course. Your flags will be up. We'll release balloons, white balloons and a dove, and it'll be a beautiful event. We're having a global peace forum at Wellinkar, the first of many, and that's how we'll begin to involve all of you. Maybe some of you will attend, maybe some of you will participate in a panel discussion, because the students will begin to engage with you about how to work together. So this is happening at Welling Carr, and more details will follow. And there's a lot of other kind of bigger things with even bigger names, but you know how it is, not until the last minute does it all come together. So we'll see. But we'll keep you informed through the newsletters, because if I'm a member of IBG, then I consider you all a member of One Life Alliance and the Global Peace Initiative.